Getting America back on track. Bill Martinez live.
Well, hello, America. Bill Martinez here. Happy birthday to one and all, celebrating a birthday today like, one of our founding fathers. It was 1751. Why couldn't it have been 750? If it had been 1750, that would have been really cool, but that's a whole other number to consider. But 1751, a most incredible founding father was born, James Madison, and here to give us a history lesson. It's always good to have our favorite professor on board on historical days like today to help us remember, from whence we came, the roots in which have been established in this country, and dare I say some of those roots that have been challenged. But, I guess I'm left to question if people really appreciate just how significant our founding fathers, were, what they contributed to this great country, and what they set into motion. There's been a lot of conversation here. Bruce Kauffmann will bring you on here right now. Bruce, of course, award-winning syndicated columnist, historian, author, and speaker. Bruce, there's been a lot of conversation about politicians in the past who've kind of left, negative landmines, things that could blow up on down the road and could hurt us, for their own self-interest. And in great contrast, we've got our founding fathers who, were thinking for the betterment of we the people. And,
yes, they absolutely were, Bill. And by the way, happy birthday to you as well.
Well, thank you.
But it is, yes, the founding fathers and James Madison are today's birthday boy in particular. They created a government, Bill, that it's by far the greatest it's the greatest government ever created in the history of man. And you talk about someone who doesn't get the credit that they deserve. Of all the founding fathers, I've always thought Mr. Madison is the most underappreciated of our founding fathers. This is the gentleman who created two of the three documents on which this nation is based. Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, of course, but Madison is called by historians the father of the Constitution because he created the Virginia Plan on which the Constitutional Convention used to create the Constitution. Mm-hmm. And he also is called the chief architect of the Bill of Rights because he wrote the Bill of Rights. He borrowed from George Mason. He borrowed from some of the amendments that the states proposed to the Constitution during their ratification conventions. But he was the one who wrote the Bill of Rights. And yet, there is no national holiday in his honor. Mm-hmm. There's no memorial to him in Washington, D.C. There wasn't even a federal government building named after him in Washington, D.C. until 1980. So this is a guy who I'm always touting, especially on his birthday, because he is so underappreciated by all of us.
Well, here in Bill Martinez Live, he's extremely honored for lots of reasons other than the fact that we share the same birthday. But James Madison was a very special and unique individual. His wiring, I'll tell you, God gifted him in a very special way. And I think, during this period of time, he wouldn't have lived at any other time and, than when he was placed in history. Because it was like all his giftings and talents could be exercised and, and kind of put into force here on this great new idea that the founding fathers were coming together on. I mean, his ability to look beyond, just the immediate. His skill set was absolutely incredible, and also he was one that was not one, as best I can understand, Bruce, and you would know this better, that it wasn't about him. He didn't seem to be one that was egocentric. And maybe that's why people just kind of, miss some of the historical significance of one James Madison. I mean,
that's exactly right, Bill.
But go ahead.
No, that's exactly right. He was shy. He was self-effacing. He would always defer credit to in general, what he said about the Constitutional Convention afterwards was that it was basically the handiwork of a whole bunch of people who, put aside their selfishness and worked together. And that was basically true, but Madison was the ringleader of the whole thing. But he was very shy. He did not like attention. And And so that's part of the reason, I think, why he doesn't get the credit he deserves. So, yes, you're absolutely right. The guy he didn't like self-promotion at all. He was the guy in the background quietly working things out. Absolutely.
But he had conviction. And this is what brought, in his own manner and style, he was so convinced because he had done his homework. He brought to the forefront and to the Founding Fathers this whole discussion, history and facts and evidence, and support for his argument that, how could the Founding Fathers, yes, they could argue because they could argue, no doubt about it, but he had a very, even though quiet, but yet convincing style because of what he brought to the debate.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. In fact, one of the great quotes about Madison, when he and Patrick Henry were arguing over the Constitution during the Virginia Ratification Convention, someone said about Patrick Henry, who was a great orator, a great speaker, said, Patrick Henry has the ability to persuade. Mr. Madison has the ability to convince. And that was Madison's skill. He was a bookworm. You could never out-debate the guy because he had all the facts at his fingertips and he thought through the facts to the conclusions. He was the smartest guy in the room, in every room.
Well, you talk about in your recent article, in Bruce's History Lessons, and again, ladies and gentlemen, let me say that if you're not a subscriber here, and you don't have to sell the farm, you'll feel like you should have because of the information that Bruce shares with us every week, 3 times a week, with Bruce's History Lessons. I recommend that you do subscribe. Bruce, real quick, we're going to be out of character here just a little bit because I want everybody to, join up and be a part of the flow of the know and, what you offer to us every week in Bruce's History Lessons.
I agree. I appreciate that, Bill. Yes, your listeners can go on my website, which is historylessons.net, and that's one word, plural, historylessons.net. And right on the homepage on the right side, it says sign up for Bruce's writings. And you type in your first name, last name, email address, and then you pick of the 3 things that I offer, which is a quote of the week on Monday, my newspaper column, Bruce's History Lessons on Wednesday, and my Thinking Out Loud column, which is when I talk about some of the things you and I talk about, public policy issues. Check 1, 2, or 3, whichever you prefer, and then hit submit, and I will send you in an email on Monday the quote of the week, my history column on Wednesday in an email, and my Thinking Out Loud columm on Friday. And
you'll want all 3, ladies and gentlemen. You really will.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate
very entertaining. That. But you do that, and then hey, look at and then share it with your friends and your neighbors, or maybe not, because I know some people say, "Well, I don't want to share because I don't want them to think I'm not that smart." But hey, it's good fun. When we come back here, we're going to talk about one of Bruce's his latest column, "The Madison Miracle." This is Bill Martinez. We're live just about 15 minutes after the top of the hour. Bruce Kauffmann is with us, award-winning syndicated columnist, historian, author, and speaker. His work has appeared in magazines, newspapers nationwide. He regularly lectures on a number of historic topics. I can tell you, when Bruce goes in front of audiences and shares in depth and the connection that he has with the audience, it's really special, and we only hear great things about that. So even if you have an opportunity or you want to have somebody as a speaker come out and speak to your group, you want to be in touch with Bruce, and you can, Bruce, how can they be in touch with you? If
they can contact me, my email address, or on my website, Bill. You can sign up for lectures as well there. But my email address is at the end of the column, and so they can get in touch with me that way.